Hello and happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. And we have a fun little show here for you guys. Mark is being complete degen and playing Delta Downs right now. So I'm sure he's going to have thoughts on some Delta Downs races if any of you guys are feeling extra degenerate tonight. But we're going to take a look at well, I guess what amounts to the late pick 6 actually at Keeneland, because we like a little bet called the Keeneland Turf Pick 3, so we figure we will include all those races. Mark, we're sure are missing a lot of Q factor today because not only do we not have Caleb, but we don't have a guest. We don't have someone. I mean,
it's just our ugly mugs, and that's not good for viewership. No.
Yeah, and I mean Matthew is just so well put together, instead, you guys, everyone gets stuck with us. So, but we will try to make this as entertaining as possible. Mark, did you happen to catch the show I did with John Piasek about the Maryland Million?
I did not. I had a crazy day at work. Did not have a chance to listen to it. Playing Maryland Million, that's like playing Delta, right? Basically the same.
Yeah. So, and I know. You have a well storied history with your disdain for Laurel Park, so I did make sure to give you a little.
How many?
You caught it was a half stray. It was a half stray.
Only a half?
Right? It wasn't that. Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
I also haven't caught the new Drinking Champagne episode where I'm sure I catch a couple of strays because that's just what you guys do.
That's a good question. I don't know if you caught a stray.
Wow. Would that be the first episode where I don't?
It might be. Yeah, we've had a lot of content this week. I don't know what happened this week. Maybe I was just feeling like extra motivated this week, but yeah, a lot of stuff coming out. We obviously drank in Champagne. I had to take a hiatus last week just because of some life stuff going on. But came back this week. Recorded with John Piasek. Talking about Maryland Million Day. He works over for the Maryland Bred program with the Maryland Thoroughbred program there. We did obviously we have our live stream today. We got another podcast, another weekly thing in the works. I'm still workshopping a couple things with that, and just got finished recording a video with the lovely Caitlin Free on physical or visual handicapping, however you want to call it. And we just did a quick little 15-minute conversation talking a little bit about it. What she kind of looks for, what are kind of negatives, positives, and I talked to her a little bit off air as well. And after Breeders' Cup, we're going to kind of do a part 2. And we're going to be a little bit more visual with it, right? We're talking about visual handicapping. We just kind of had a conversation about it, but I think we're going to kind of do a more visual one where hey, let's take a look at some pictures or some video of some horses and kind of break that down. So that's up on YouTube now. If you guys are watching this or after the fact, maybe you already see it. But yeah, just a ton of stuff coming out. Obviously, Breeders' Cup is right around the corner, and we'll have our usual Breeders' Cup lineup coming up for that. Mark, what race is coming up at Delta Downs right now?
They are coming up onto the 6th race. This 9-horse, She's a Salty Gal. I am shocked is not your favorite. She should be controlling speed in this race. Speed's been good all night so far. Yeah, I just kind of thought she was the horse to beat. So I have pick 3's live to her. She's a lone A on a bunch of my tickets. And my B's are the 7 and the 10. So one of them probably wins because I'm notorious for eating B's.
I was going to say the 7 looks pretty fast early as well.
Yeah. She does. I tend to go by what time form says, and the time form early on the 9 is a 104. I realize she's winless at Delta, and maybe that's what is keeping people away here. But she's and she's technically up in class off the last race. But speed's just so deadly here, and she's handled Louisiana down, so I figured she would fit nicely within this bunch. I think you were talking to what other horse did you say at speed? The 7?
Yeah, the 7's actually looking
Yeah.
at it real quick is the horse I like in this spot here.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Your 7's taking all the money off that 5-1 morning line. But another horse that hasn't hit the board going at Delta in 2 tries, and I don't know the jockey, and I guess that does scare me a little bit here. When you see some sort of really unknown jock at Delta, it does not have a lot of starts. I don't know, just a little scary to me.
Yeah, I'm looking to see if I can double into something here in the next race.
Yeah, and the other horse I did like a little bit was the 10. More on the fact that Vincente Del Cid ends up back there. Does have a race. Was across the turf at Evangeline, but he is the best jock on the grounds by a mile and a half. He's going to continue at the rate. He's 32% of the meet so far. He'll probably finish the meet very close to that. He gets all of the live mounts. So if he's sticking around there versus picking up something someplace else, that horse is probably very alive. And you're getting a little bit of a price there too. So even though the dirt races don't imply that this horse should be a competitor here, the jock sort of moves him up, and high percentage connections all the way around. So
yeah, I'm looking at. Man, I like the 7. The next race looks pretty good, but I don't know. I mean,
I thought the next race was one you needed to be a little spread in. Honestly, it's a tough race.
I like the 6 and the 7. I think the most. Like I said, I'm just trying to handicap a quick little double here.
This is like the longest I've ever. I think this is the longest I've ever seen you handicap a race.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to actually, get a little bit of money here, but if we're gonna play Delta Downs, we gotta make some money here. So
exactly. Yeah, I'll tell you what, your doubles, if you're actually playing from your 7, are paying really solid. So if you like that 7 here, you're gonna do well.
I gotta use this 9.
What, the next race?
Yeah, I think the 9 and. Dude, like none of these jockeys have won yet. What the heck?
Meet's only a couple days old, Josh.
Yeah, but like literally, there are no jocks that have wins in this race. Like that's.
Well, I mean, Vargas does in the 3. He's got 2 wins. Magnan on the 6 has got a win. Guerrero on the 1 has a win. Del Cente's got 6 wins. Berzer's got 2. So there's a few of them. And T Money's on the outside on the 12, and he's got 4 wins as well. So
let's make a quick little wager here before we get into the.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're remiss to leave the 2 off your tickets in the next. That horse has never missed the trifecta at Delta. Clearly handles it really well, and you can kind of toss that last race because it's not a horse that tends to do as well out of town. Just a kind of a Delta specialist. So, and honestly, I would imagine optional 10 to a $5,000 allowance. It actually is probably a little bit of class relief for him. And he's got good tactical speed. I realize Pompel's doesn't have a win on the meet yet, but that'll change.
All right, I'm going to do a little $5 win bet here on the 7, and then I got a 7-9, 7-9 double. We're going to keep it nice and symmetrical here. Charles, you see, I always knew. You see, we start betting Delta, and Charles hops in. I know he wants some degenerate action. He likes a 2 here in this race with. He says with.
Well, but he's not actually. I mean, he's not actually getting bug weight.
He's 114. Isn't that bug weight?
I see him as 116. It could be wrong on my form, Josh.
Let's see what he says on.
I mean, so 117 to the high weight, so he's getting a pound off the
Oh, he's
high weights.
116. He's two. Yeah, he's a little over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's funny that Calvin Burrell had 2 mounts yesterday, and I think he was 5 pounds over or something.
Oh
It's like, oh
God.
boy. It's like Calvin. He was just riding for his wife. So
Um. Yeah. Well, while we wait for that, we got it says 1 minute to post, but that always that always means at least another 5 minutes. So, Mark, I'm sure you got your eye on that, but we're gonna start here with the start of the pick six, the start of the turf pick three here, which is race five, going a mile and the eighth on the turf. It's a maiden 100K race here, and yeah, you got just like everything else at Keeneland, you got a full field here. You got 11 with MTO. The 11 Magdalia Forever is the MTO, and yeah, this was I landed on three horses in here that I kind of liked, but Mark, I'll let you go first. Where did you kind of land here?
yeah, so I wrote something down wrong, so I will have to figure out what on earth I did because somehow I tried to make this a 12 horse race, and oh, I know what I did wrong. I'm an idiot. Okay, I was looking at the wrong number on my sheet. Yeah, I really think it's just kind of a 2 horse race. Yeah, I mean, I realize it's a big competitive field, but there's your two shortest prices are going to be the two Catman and three Zippadoo, I guess is how
Hmm.
you would say it. I mean, Zippadoo should be controlling speed in here. It comes out of that Colonial race where he showed a lot of speed. I mean, it does. He's never actually made the lead early, but he does have a lot of speed on paper, and he really should be controlling speed in here. Been watching Keeneland. Turf speed has been very, very, very good. You have not seen those deep closers getting there. What you've seen is horses that were those E or EP style horses. Are the ones that are kind of making it happen within 3-4 lengths. All the way around. I thought that they made all the sense in the world. And I think that the number two Catman, the Brad Cox horse, coming off from that really nice Churchill fig. Timeform has that as 100, so he kind of towers over the rest of this field. I thought there was kind of a big drop off between those two and everybody else. There's a lot of horses like I really wanted to like somebody like the 4 or the 5, but you're talking 0 for 10, 0 for 11 maidens. They feel like they need class relief. Or even the 6, blessing the flag. Just a lot of horses in here that look like they need either softer going or kind of to figure things out. So I'll take the two lightly raced horses that both have nice performances and keep it nice and simple in here.
Yeah, I'm much more interested in the three Zippadoo than the two. At least on Brisnet, obviously the figures differ. Looks a little bit light on those two races. Um, I don't know. I mean, I think that one's probably the one he should have won,
Mhm.
or she should have won.
Yep.
But I kind of agree with you. I think Zippadoo's got a bit of a pace advantage here. He's going to be forwardly placed, and I like speed on turf. I like. I mean, I like. I don't know if there's speed I don't like, um, and so I just think the three is a little bit of a strong candidate to win. Had a bit of a pretty fast pace last time out, going 22 and 4, 46 and 3, going a mile on the turf, which is pretty fast. So I think if there's a little bit less speed in here, can slow it down a little bit. I think Zippadoo's got is in here with a real strong chance. You did mention the 4. I think that is one. That definitely is in here with a huge shot. And the reason I really like this horse is because a lot of Kentucky Downs basically ran against the bias that existed in that at Kentucky Downs. Kentucky Downs played very speed favoring that last weekend, and yeah, this is a horse that closed from missed was really far back, was 10 lengths back at the start, and made a nice run, and there weren't a lot of horses making up ground. So I think based off of that race, I kind of want to move this horse up, based off of the uh, kind of running against the bias in that race. And another horse I had written down um, was the 7 Animal Rise here for Troy Newton and Mitchell Merle. Um, last time out at Kentucky Downs, Mitch went ahead and he put the horse on the engine, and we thought that that was going to be that was going to be a winning move that time, but it just didn't kind of work out. I do think that might have gone a little bit too fast up front there for a 3-year-old maiden. So you know, cutting back, if he can still show that same speed, I think that he might be a little interesting in this spot. And it looks like they're off
Yes,
here
this
at
this
Delta.
probably case. So I was going to ask you. I mean, obviously this Delta race is going on, but neither one of us have mentioned the 9 heckled for Michael Stidham, another horse. Coming out of the Kentucky Downs race, probably was against the bias that you were mentioning, just as much as the 4. And obviously, the record does scare you with the 4 second places, but you're getting the jock switch to Joel here, and any love for him there. I mean, I would figure if you like the 4, you got to like the 9, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that does make a bit of sense. I was trying to not use too many short prices, as I think your 10 might be just
Might
gone.
be gone. Your 7's trying. Can make it
He's
tight.
trying, but I think he's too late. Yeah.
Oh, that sucks. But
Oh,
where was
is
my?
that
What
is
happened
that
to
a
my
B for you?
9? Yeah, it was a B.
What did that horse go off at? 9-2.
9-2. Yeah, I tried to get a little too aggressive on the 9, and the looks like the 9. I missed the gate pop, but the 9 did not appear to get
Yeah,
on
the 9
top.
or the 7. They didn't
Yeah,
go.
didn't show that speed out of the gate, so it was pretty over from gate pop.
Yeah, no. But I think using that same logic, the nine heckled here makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. My issue with this race is I can make a case for almost everybody in here, and so when people are going to be spreading, I want to be skinny. And in my thought process here was really I didn't want all these horses that have a ton of starts that haven't quite gotten it done yet. There's a ton of horses in there that scream that either they need softer company or they're kind of pack animals and they just want to run with a group. And I know it's something Caleb and I both talk about quite a bit, but find the outsider in those kind of races. So I very much I could make a case for the 4, the 5, the 6, that 9. There's a ton of players in there. Your Mitch horse also made a lot of sense. Seemed like that horse really kind of picked it up, at least figure wise, really picked it up the last race. So it's just one of those situations. How do you want to approach this? And I'm thinking turf pick 3 with that $3 base. It gets really expensive to get spready, so I'll be skinny.
Cool. Race 6. And then Charles already jumped ahead to race 6. He's already talking about the 11 here with Tyler aboard. But race 6 is going to start the pick 5. It's mile 16th for 2-year-olds on the dirt. And yeah, I think these first couple races were pretty straightforward to me. I have one
Yeah.
A, one B in this race. My lone A is the 2 door knock here for Danny Gargan and Luis Saez. This is kind of just one of those horses. You look at the form, you look at who else is in here, and you're like, if this horse doesn't win this race, I don't know when he wins a race. I think that this horse looks time to win this race here. You get Luis Saez on the engine on a dirt horse. I mean, what's not to like here? Like Dornock was a very very strong lone A. Was almost just um, a complete single for me. You look at the other speed like Greer's Ferry, the 6. I mean, gets Joel aboard. Didn't really show that much speed on the dirt. Showed a little bit more speed on the turf. Coming back to dirt. This seems like one that they don't know what to do with, and you just don't really have any other speed here. So I have a hard time looking past the 2 door knock. Another horse I did give a look to, and might just be a lone B if I do use it all, is the 4 Django for Ken McPeak and Julian Leperoux. Just missed last time out. Had a nice rally. Actually headed and got the lead, and then just kind of gave way last minute. But that figure looks good. I think if the horse gets into another similar spot here, might be the best of the rest in here. And if the speed doesn't hold, I think this is one that can clunk up and kind of win here. So I'm going to be 2-4 here, and that's it. Mark, where did you kind of land?
Yeah, I spread a little more than you did here, and just from the fact of I looked long and hard at Dornock. Danny Gargan-Sparn's very very sharp, and when you see a very sharp trainer point a maiden into a stakes race, they're normally very well meant, right? And so those are the kind of horses that you like to get at a price coming back. Now, my concern with Dornock, though, is that I don't know if longer moves him up. He's good magic on top, Big Brown on the bottom. Obviously, we know the pedigrees, the in distance pedigrees there with Big Brown, but good magic to me are always more of milers. And I really wonder if, he got his nose in front and then got nailed at the wire late. It looked like he was a little leg weary in that sapling. Is there a chance that maybe this little extra distance doesn't really help him, and he's more of a 7 furlong miler type. And I also don't love seeing a horse that's gotten 2 seconds, but in both times he's done it, looks like he was probably the best horse in the race and should have won both of those. So those are the kind of horses that I tend to. I don't want to say I'm fading him because I'm definitely not fading him. I'm just a little bit weary of him in this field. So he is marked down as an A for me. The other horse that I've marked down an A is the 3 Lat Long for Ken McPeak. I realize Benji Hernandez has not had the best of a Keeneland meets, but McPeak sticks with him. Or honestly, nor has McPeak. But figures were really nice for that. Liam's map should stretch out very nicely, and a horse that I like Ken McPeak. Horse is his second time out, so I think he's an interesting player in here. And the other horse I thought was really interesting is probably what goes off as your post time favorite, and that's Dive Bomber on the outside, the 12 for Flocox. And a horse that the last two have been decent. Again, another one of these horses that should stretch out fine. He's going to be a lot very forward, part of the pace complexion in this race. And I guess that was my other little bit of an issue with Dornock is I don't know if this necessarily melts down if they go stupid fast, but it seems like there's a couple of these that I don't know if they need the lead, but they may be forwardly placed and they may hook up with horses like Dornock, Gears Ferry, and Dive Bomber, all seeming to be horses that are going to be on the pace and putting a good bunch of pace pressure on. So I really wonder if do you want that horse that comes from a little off from, or, a little bit more out of it. And I guess that would be somebody like the 3 Lat Long.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of the reason I did look at the 4, and I thought the 4 was a little bit uh, just run at this distance. I know kind of hung it last time out, but I'm getting 8-1 here on Kenny McPeak in Kentucky. That seems like like a chance I'll take in a race that looks like it might. It does have a bit of speed, but if not, like I said, I like the inside drawn speed here. So.
Any you give Greer's Ferry the 6 any look for the coach? I mean, form's dirtied up. I mean,
I just don't like that. I just don't like that move.
His pedigree, he's not that horse does not have a turf pedigree. So the last out just dirties up the form. 2-back race was pretty darn good. I realize that those Ellis dirt races may be a little bit suspect, but I don't know. When Rosario gets up for the coach, they're real high percentage together and a
More
very
than
nice
ready
ROI.
is absolutely turf pedigree on top.
I didn't say the horse didn't have turf pedigree. I was saying that the horse didn't really run that well on turf. Was
Okay.
what I was sort of saying.
Okay.
He was beat. He was 5th by 2.5. I guess he didn't really run that bad. But my thought is, I guess with that pedigree, he could run on anything. But
Yeah, I just don't like that. Like this seems like we don't know what to do with this horse.
okay, I
Hey,
respect that.
we ran it on dirt, we ran it on turf. We're gonna come back on dirt. So I'm not a huge fan of that. It'd be one thing if he like ran on turf and maybe improved a little bit, but seemed to regress a little bit there. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the coach is just trying to get some stamina into the horse and ran him on the turf. I don't know, but I just didn't really care for the 6 much here. Finally getting to Charles 11. Did you look at this 11 at all? He's asking. He's like, hey, why is Tyler on this 11 horse? Tyler, this isn't Naira Tyler. This is Kentucky Tyler, right?
I understand this is Kentucky, Tyler. My concern here is the fact that if Corrales wasn't on the horse first time out, I would have been much more interested. Oh, Gaff took interest, but to me, I don't think Corrales getting off. I don't think Corrales getting off and Gaff getting up moves a horse up. And I mean, yeah, I don't, maybe I wouldn't hate somebody taking that shot. Medina is 20% with maiden second timers, but yeah, I don't know. Sure, it's a wide open race. You can make a case for a lot of horses, just not one I was super interested in. If Corrales was on that horse, I would be much more interested in that horse, to tell you the truth. So there was a sort of a case of Corrales is on the 5. I don't think anything went wrong on the 11. So why take him off? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess I'm looking at the notes, and it did say he stumbled first time out, and I don't hate it. I'll probably note it, and I'll at least throw it on my sheet just so that I don't miss that one. But
I will say,
given the pressing connection, so.
I will say, Charles, you heard it here, right? If Mark cashes some huge ticket and it's because this 11 horses on it, he owes you dividends. Just FYI. Although to be fair, if we had to pay Mark every time we talked him off of a horse that cost him money, we would probably actually Caleb, man, Caleb here. But that man owes us G's. He owes both of us G's talking us off of horses. It's unreal. That man is so convincing.
He's just so convincing, and he's so pretty, and you're just like, oh, he really knows what he's talking about. I'll listen to him. Don't. No. He doesn't. No.
Yeah. Uncle Sully saying, Coach, it's only 57 days to Oaklawn opening day, the 6th race at Keeneland.
But this is the coach. That horse may have another start before the Oaklawn meet.
And then we got Christopher D'Souza in here, and he says the 3 looks the best to him. And that was Lat Long. That was the horse that you kind of liked in here.
Yeah, that was the horse that I think is probably my top pick in here.
The other McPeak.
The other McPeak.
Old Shifty Kenny. Oh man, like have you ever seen like I love Ken McPeak because this man never has to worry about finding a career outside of horse racing. Like if, let's say for some reason there was just like some, something crazy happened, all of a sudden the horses disappeared, right? They all got taken by UFOs or something insane. Dude, Kenny could go to a used car lot, and that man would just
the term is he could sell ice to an Eskimo.
Yeah, man. The man
Kenny
is
McPeak man's got some hustle.
Yeah. All right. The second leg of the both pick 5 and the turf pick 3 here. Got Keeneland race 7 going a 1.5 miles here on the turf. Your 6-5 favorite is a West Coast turf horse in 911 Turbo. And if you guys have watched our stream before, you know that I like to mark on the PPs here, my selections, just because mark all his stuff up and he's not sharing the screen. I'm sharing my screen, so I got to have my stuff, my notes on here. You notice that there's nothing here. This horse is not going to be in any of my tickets, and this is going to be your 6-5 favorite. I might have an alarm for this if I can find it. Which is the takeout reducer alarm. I'm going full on here on this one.
How does fading Flavian Pratt normally work out for you?
I mean, that doesn't normally work out for me very well. But I mean, fading a West Coast turf horse in Keeneland, I mean, that might be a different story. By the way, what you drinking over there, Mark?
Oh, I got a little bit of vino. It's Uxbridge. It's out of the Columbia Valley. It's a Syrah. Just keeping it, shaking it up a little.
I've been taking it easy on alcohol the last couple weeks, but I have allotted myself a nice pour today, and I have a barrel proof Elijah Craig here, which is very, very nice.
Uncle Sully, we love you.
Oh, I only listen to Caleb when he's handicapping Japanese horses, Dubai World Cup, or picking favorites for the black-eyed Susan. Oh, so Caleb. But yeah, I don't have 911 Turbo on any of my tickets. But yeah, I do have. I think this is another horse that is another race that I just AB'd. My top selection is 12-1 on the morning line. I don't know if this is just a real bad line, but the
I'll
four
tell you,
Shirar.
my top selection is also 12-1, but not yours. That's the same horse you're
Oh,
on.
that's interesting. I like the four Shirar in this spot for Todd Pletcher and Johnny V. And this is similar to what we were talking about that last weekend at Kentucky Downs. Speed was just holding, and this horse came from the clouds and finished second. Was the best of the rest. I mean, lost by 5.5 lengths. If you haven't read Mike Maloney's book with Peter Thomas Fornatel, who helped him write it, Betting with an Edge, one of the things that Mike Maloney points out that are just like telltale signs of there being a bias is when you have runaway winners like that. When you have these horses on the front end or these horses that close and there's just a huge like gap, that kind of tells you that there might be a bias. So I'm going to move up that last effort. Briz has got a really big number on it, but Briz's numbers get bigger as the races get longer. So buyer beware there. But ran against the bias. The winner Balladeer came back out of that race to win, and this horse is coming back in here, and I don't know. It's a very very competent rider in John Velasquez, and he's only got one option, right? He doesn't have to worry about getting to the front. He's just going to try and get out there, stay out of trouble, and make that one run. And 12-1, definitely more than fair price, I think, on this for Shirar. I have another horse written down as a B, but Mark, you said you have a 12-1 that you have written down
I
as an
completely
A.
lied to you. I have a 15-1 written
Oh,
down as an A.
15-1. Okay. Is that the
Yeah.
9?
No, that is actually the 3 Kittens Mischief for
Okay.
Jonathan Thomas. So one thing when I'm looking at these marathon stair type distances, I'm looking for horses that have some experience and have done well doing it. This is one of the few horses in the field that actually has a win going this trip, and the horse put up a 1:15 time for him doing so. That is one of the best figures in this field. So the horse clearly likes the trip and has a really big performance across it. I'll give him some excuse for that. That race in April here. He go in the same trip. He had a pretty brutal trip that day. He was 3 wide in one corner, 5 wide in another, and kind of was a little bit flat late, but still wasn't really disgraced in that race. And Flo ends up on this one. Obviously, he does very very well at Keeneland. But another kind of interesting stat, or a couple of interesting numbers in here as well that kind of move this one's up, are the fact that Jonathan Thomas, 31 to 60-day layoffs, he's 30%. And when he puts Flo up, he's 35%. Both of those with a positive ROI. So these are kind of moves that really work for Jonathan Thomas. I don't think there's a monster in here, and I think Kitten's Mischief is an extremely interesting horse in this spot. I agree with you on 911 Turbo. I'm not going to go as far to say he's a takeout reducer in here, but I would say he's the type of horse that I would not want at 6-5. He's a horse that if he wins this, would I be shocked? No. Is he the horse I think it's the most likely winner? No, probably not. But I would take if you gave me him or the field, I'd take the field. But is he a horse that could win this race? Yeah, he could. We do see some of these horses. We do see some of these horses that can ship out of California and win. And honestly, they do seem to be some of these more distance turf horses, some of these marathoners. What was the really, really good marathon distance turf horse in California a couple years ago? He was one of the best turf horses in the country. United. He was able to ship and win at other tracks. It took me a second. He was a one-part name. United, United's a horse that did ship and he did fine when outside. Now, he was better in California than he was other places, but he was just facing softer company in California. So I don't hate 911 Turbo. There's a bunch of other horses in here that I would use, but I don't know. I don't know how deep you want me to go here, Josh, and where else you landed.
Yeah, so I only had one other horse I really liked in here, but before we get to that, I did want to talk about Charles here saying 1.5 miles. I think he means a 6 in this race. He says I think the 7 can steal it on the lead. Tyler again. Why? I think he means this foreign relations, who does look like a horse that has been forwardly placed a little bit here. And yeah, does get Tyler aboard for Connor Murphy, who doesn't have a huge stable. And you know, he thought high enough of this horse. I mean, this horse is running the Turf Cup, is running the United Nations, won the Louisville at Churchill near the end of the meet there. Um, and yeah, I mean, is a horse that has shown some uh, you've shown some ability. Does have a win, which is weird. The PP is he's placed 10th through disqualification. So he won by 4 and a quarter lengths, but apparently was DQ'd for that win in April at Keeneland. So has run well over this turf course. 9-2 in the morning line gets Tyler aboard. Was this one that you kind of looked at, Mark?
Yeah, it was a horse I looked at, but there's no way on earth that that horse ends up on the lead. There's no way he's going to be coming from out of the clouds. I mean, he's been somewhat forwardly placed, but when there's absolutely no pace on, he's forwardly placed when they're going 52 and a half to the, half. He's not a horse that seems to want the lead or want to be forwardly placed. I think the 9 in here is clearly a rabbit, Montauk Point. And I don't think Montauk Point can win, but I think that's the only option he has is for a Rad to try to go to the front and steal the race. I do think foreign relations is interesting. My real issue with him is, he's only got 2 wins lifetime. One is going this trip, but he's not a horse that likes to win very often. And I don't know why he gets better here, going back to this 1.5-mile trip when he absolutely just was terrible at Kentucky Downs. Second off the layoff, maybe that does move him up. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, like I didn't really look at this horse much, but I mean the fact that this horse has got to run over that's got to run the track, and was a winning effort. I don't know how bad. I mean, it must have been really bad. It looks like he maybe caused the horse to clip heels, if he got placed 10th. But I
And
don't know.
also,
Might be want to take a closer look at.
yeah, I mean, it is a horse I have marked on as a B. If you want to know where I have the horse, my other concern really is that I am not a trainer, obviously, and this is not a horse I've ever seen or I don't know in the flesh or anything else. But that does not look like a distance turf pedigree to me. That very much looks like a sprinter that they're trying to turn into a distance horse because they don't know what else to do with him. He's kind of sprinty top and bottom. I mean, he's got a 196 distance Tomlinson, which is absolutely atrocious. So he's shown that he can get the distance. Obviously, that Churchill, he won the Louisville doing this trip. Seems to have come off form since that. He's an interesting face in here, second off the layoff, but it is a horse that you have to get the right price, and he's not my top pick. I would say one other horse that, while you're here, Josh, if you want another price that I actually thought was really interesting, the number 10 horse, Quadra Island. You're going to get there and partially know why I'm interested in this horse, but this is a horse that they ran a few times across synthetic. Did break his maiden at Turfway. He's one of the few 3-year-olds in this race, so he has every right to take end of the year 3-year-old. His year this year was kind of odd. They ran him at Turfway in March, and then he didn't get another start till end of August at Ellis, and he did win with today's jockey aboard. Obviously it's Cox and Corrales together. They're 38%. Now I realize most of those wins come at places like Turfway, where he kind of just cleans just destroys things during the winter there. But it's interesting to see him, stick with Corrales here. And this horse isn't that much slower than some of the others in here. And it has a pedigree. Kitten Stray on the top and Bridal Song on the bottom. That's a pedigree that should get a 1.5 without a problem, and very much really may relish the stretch out. So I thought Quadra Island was pretty interesting here at an absolutely absurd morning line at 20-1.
Yeah, the only other horse I was interested in was a 12 microphone here, and I thought that you know we're talking about horses being on the front end. I thought that this might be the horse that ends up on the
Agreed.
lead or close to the lead, and if you look at that race two back at Keeneland, off the layoff, ran a nice race. Yes, I know he finished fifth, but generally the Keeneland turf plays pretty fair. So with the track a little bit flipped and maybe playing a little bit towards speed now, I think microphone might be one to kind of take a look at. Slightly lesser known connections with Ethan West and Edgar Morales aboard. Maybe this is one that kind of sneaks by just because the lesser connections I think might have a bit of pace advantage. Is out in the 12 post, which might be a little disadvantageous, but you're going a mile and a half. And usually the longer the race, the more you can kind of overcome
Just
that
remember
post.
at Keeneland, that is a 3-turn mile and a half. And the run up to the first turn is rather short. So it again is one of those ones where you can get floated real wide out of the outside, but he does have some tactical speed. So he can definitely use that speed. I agree with you. My big thing with microphone is this is a horse I know very well because he was in the Chad Brown barn for a while and I saw him run and saw him in the flesh. He was a horse that Chad couldn't figure out. And he's just one of those situations where if Chad Brown can't figure out a turf horse, I just assume that they're really not that good. And they're obviously playing around with him, trying to figure out things to do with him. In that two back race to me, the Keeneland, the one that the Gray Wizard won, it just kind of screams to me that this is probably a little further than he really wants to go. But they may have just run out of things to try with the 5-year-old. So he's a horse I haven't marked down as a C. But would be kind of a shocker for me.
Yeah, and then just one last one that someone kind of called out.
Stolen base, yeah.
Yeah, stolen base, the 5 horse here. Mike Maker, trained horse. Mike Maker winning a marathon
Right.
distance race at Keeneland. I mean, we've heard this before. But yeah, he comes in here. He looks like, at least on Brisnet, looks like a horse that's improving. But like I said, that could also be just because of the fact that the races have progressively gotten longer. And like I said, Brisnet kind of tends to flatter those longer races. So as you're a devout DRF and time form user. How's this horse kind of look? Does this horse look
He
like one that's on the improve, or?
on you can make a case given the last that he is a bit on the improve. My concern is I don't really know if I don't really. He's a horse that's lost and been beaten pretty soundly 5 times in a row versus cheaper. He's stepping up in class here today and stretching out a little bit in distance. I don't think his pedigree says that he wants to go this far. And, honestly, I think we all know Joel Rosario, but Rosario and Mike Maker are not good together. They're actually 8% over the last year. So, if Mike Maker is using Joel Rosario, I don't know why, or if he just ran out of other people that he had options with, but that's not a high percentage change for him. And there's been a bunch of good jocks on him that couldn't figure out how to win, whether it be Raylu or Marty Garcia or Corrales or Jose, or is that Arad Ortiz? I keep forgetting yours does it weird. And he couldn't quite get it done. I just he's another horse that would kind of be a shocker for me. By the way, they're loading at Delta.
Oh, they are. Oh no.
Oh no.
Did I get it?
I mean, you
I wanted to
got
bet this
probably
9.
probably got a minute, at least a minute or two.
I'm betting this 9.
I think this 2 is the 2. The price on that 2 here is just really juicy.
I get this, and I got a 7-9 exact. Do I have this open already? I do. All right, yeah, they're loading in here. Yeah, I really like the 9 in race 7. Savage, I think connections look really good here. Berzer's off to a good start. Arnett's off to a good start. And they tend to be pretty good here. This horse is coming off in good form, winning his last race in an allowance at Prairie Meadows. So looks a bit slow on speed figures, at least on Brisnet, compared to some of these other horses. But when you're comparing across tracks, as much as there are variants and they try to kind of,
Yeah, they try
make them even.
they try to equalize it, but they can't ever get it perfect. And there's also just a factor of, you also get that certain horses like certain tracks, and certain tracks favor certain run styles, and how does that affect end figures? So it's the same thing as, I think we were, if you played Saratoga this summer, everybody was throwing out last out Ellis runners because the figs were inflated. They came back and didn't run well, So there's a lot of those types of things that you play for a while and you're like, yeah, I don't trust this. And I will say a lot of these Kentucky Downs figures look pretty juiced that I've been seeing. And I think what happened was Kentucky Downs was very speed favoring this year. I think you got some horses that probably ended up with some really fat figures that they might not have deserved. And we've actually seen Kentucky Downs runners not doing well next out. So, again, it's be careful.
There's also the fact that Kentucky Downs can't seem to get their run-ups situated, which makes making figures difficult. Uncle Sully calling Delta Downs the Prairie Meadows of the South.
I don't know how to take that. I mean, is that an insult wrapped in a compliment, or I don't know.
No, who's off?
Oh boy, 10 looks like. Oh no, that's not 10. That is
that 9.
Might be Josh. They're unloading everybody. Looks like
Someone just looks not happy. The jock did not look happy walking away.
I don't know who that
he's
was.
Going back. He's taking his ball and going home. So the 6. 6 is a late scratch. Well, they're going to re-rack them. That's going to take like 20 million years because for some reason they can't figure out how to do that faster.
Well, that means I'm gonna get a lot of the 7 now.
So funny story. So Uncle Sully's saying Prairie Meadows is his home track.
Okay.
We were so I was in Nashville with a couple of buddies a couple weeks ago for Kentucky Downs, and we're sitting there. We're in the hotel bar. We're just we're having a couple of beers. We are I think we ordered like pretzels and wings and the burger. We're just kind of just hanging out watching. I think college football was on, so we were watching college football and just hanging out. And my buddy gets a ping, basically saying, "Hey, have you looked at Prairie Meadows yet?" And all of a sudden, dude, he had to drop everything, and all of a sudden he's handicapping Prairie Meadows late pick 4, because the pick 5 is a jackpot. So the pick 4 is the play there. So big. I think I fired at Prairie Meadows that night too, and it didn't work out well for me. But yeah, I think this is an interesting race here, and we go into race 9, which is the Queen Elizabeth Grade 1, going a mile and 1/8 here on the turf. Mark, you and I kind of looked at this one and talked about this a little bit beforehand.
Don't we go into race 8 first?
Didn't we skip? Oh, whoops, race 8. I forgot that we started. We start. Yeah. My bad. Yeah. Race 8, 6.5 furlongs in the dirt. And I have 2 A's in here and a B. Mark, where did you kind of land?
Yeah, I had 3 A's of all things. This is a race that I have a very, very hard time with these types of races. Lightly raced horses, I have a hard time comparing them to each other. So the 3 horses I ended up on were the Brad Cox horse, 2 Pumpkin Scone, who has a ton of speed and should be very forwardly placed. I think it's interesting. Again, this is another horse. Corrales flow got off. Corrales gets up. The horse wins by a bunch of open lengths, and you're getting Corrales back here off that nice Ellis Park score. So, I mean, again, all the connections and all the percentages around Cox, we know what they are. He wins at a very high percentage, and this is a very good move for him. Other horse, I was let me go to the non-crazy price horse here that I had. That was, actually the next 2 are both prices. So here we go. Other horse I really liked was the 3 Mucho Macho Girl, horse that won at debut at the fairgrounds with Biscuit Up and been off since March. But that figure came back really stout. His horse had every bit of time to develop, and Dallas Stewart is pretty decent on the long layoff. So a horse that you're getting a big price on, and you're getting paid to see if the horse is any good. Other horse that I thought was really interesting in here was the 6, Rosie's Alibi. Now, this is a horse we haven't seen in almost a year. Ran a very nice race in the Tempted Lady Stakes, and it's Todd Pletcher. Going back, or it's Todd Pletcher off the long layoff. Another thing that he's very good and getting Lasix for the first time. So if you looked at those figures and you thought that looked a little light, well, remember this horse has got a year to develop and getting Lasix. So I thought Rosie's Alibi was really interesting in here. She'll be more of a later runner. I would imagine she'll kind of sit off the pace and make one big kind of move late. So those are the 3 I ended up on, and 2 of them are pretty pricey, and one is, I would imagine, Pumpkin Scone ends up you're probably your favorite in this race. But big, deep, competitive field, really good betting race.
Yeah, I really like the 2 here, Pumpkin Scone. Obviously, you got an E7, you got a 3 cherry horse here, and you got your Corrales aboard. What's not to like about that? So yeah, I think Pumpkin Scone is my top pick in here. And then going to the outside, if for some reason something wonky does happen,
7 on off the favorite, right? Yeah, did. Okay.
I think so. Yeah. And this is maybe I'm channeling my inner Charles, because he seems to keep on asking why Tyler, and you can see Tyler getting aboard for a Prairie Meadows shipper at Keeneland. No, we're not looking at the Delta Downs PPs, my friends. We are looking at Keeneland. Yeah, we got a Prairie Meadows shipper in here for Kelly Von Hemmel. And Tyler sees fit to get aboard. This horse, ran a nice race last time out, won by 7.5 lengths. And if there's one thing that we saw with some of these Prairie Meadows horses, right? As long as they keep Lasix, I think they can keep running. So, Little Vixen is able to continue with the Lasix here, and yeah, I like this. I like the spot here. People might look at that Prairie Meadows, might look at the trainer, and might kind of just toss this one. So 10-1 in the morning line. We'll see what kind of price we get there. And then lastly, my last pick here, 8-1 in the morning line on a Wesley Ward horse. Probably not gonna get that price. But the 11 Rarify, I have this one marked as a B. Joel rode this horse last year as a 2-year-old. Has been off for a very, very long time. But we've seen Wesley do this. He's just the king of horses that run twice a year. I'm not super concerned about the huge layoff for here. So I expect him to come back with this one cranked. If you kind of look at the way the horse run last time out, came from off the pace, 4 lengths off, and won as a 2-year-old at Keeneland. So that's pretty impressive to do that at 2. Coming back here at 3, I think that this horse makes a ton of sense. I have it down as a B, because I do really like the inside horse very much. But we'll see what kind of price we get on here. Wesley Ward is probably gonna, if not have this, I don't see us getting more than, I don't know, 4 or 5-1 on this horse. So. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, given this field, this is a pretty competitive field. You may get that price. It wouldn't shock me. I mean, I realize it is what Wesley Ward and it's Keeneland and all the things. But there's a lot of other ways to go in here that I thought were real interesting. So,
Yeah.
I mean, to 2 horses we haven't talked about that I thought were interesting. The 9 Zeitlos for Steve Asmussen. Torres has been riding a lot of his live mounts, and this one has been very competitive, getting back on dirt. After honestly almost winning on turf last out. So figures fit and wouldn't be a shocker for me. And the other one was a seed for Chad Brown. I know this horse is probably a little light on figures, but here's a horse that's been just running for us a lot tougher company. And this, at least on paper, is a much easier race than, running in the G1 Acorn versus Pretty Mischievous. So I think somebody like a seed is also a horse that, makes a lot of sense. Really good fit here. And I would imagine that Arad had other options in this race and he lands on this horse. So, and I mean, I know you guys, it's funny to watch all the people chase Gaff around, you're chasing around a 14% jockey, but, I don't think Gaff necessarily moves horses up, but Arad does move horses up when he gets on them. So, I think a seed is a really interesting player in here.
My problem with the seed is this looks like, and I don't know necessarily if Chad does this often, but I definitely see this with Pletcher horses happen all the time, where he just kind of ruins them. One very good example is a horse like, I don't know, Command Performance, who looked really good in the maiden race, and then all of a sudden started tossing him in stakes races, and then brought him back into a lot maiden races
Isn't
and
that the
couldn't
horse
win
that
there.
still hasn't broke its maiden?
I think he has broken his maiden, but he's just
Okay.
like not good. And I just don't like. Um, sometimes these horses, they just they win on debut, maybe they
By
run
the way,
really well.
he has not. Oh yeah, he has one. He has one. He's won twice. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he, horses like this that have won on debut, run well on debut, and then they just get their face beat in, going way over their head.
Way their
And
head. Yep.
yeah, and sometimes I do get them right, but I just never feel like I always feel like these types of horses, the first time where it's like, all right, this horse should definitely win this race, or this horse fits in this race. I I feel like more often than not, the horse still doesn't perform in that race, and maybe maybe that's just anecdotal, thinking of a couple of horses recently, but I think sometimes with these big name trainers that put these horses in these really tough spots really early, if the horse doesn't do well, I think sometimes it could be a kind of an uphill battle getting the horse right again.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, there is a claim of foul at Delta,
Yeah,
the
I see
4
that.
on the 7. So if they put a 30 to 1 up over the favorite, that would be, well, that'd be bad.
Awesome. Oh, that would be bad. Sorry. I was reading a message.
Yeah, I know. You're
Someone
fine.
already pinged me saying great job on the physical handicapping video. Even though I haven't tweeted it out yet, people are watching it. So
Solid,
that's
man.
cool. Charles B. He says Rosie's Alibi Pletcher, the 6 horse.
Yeah, Rosie's
That
Alibi.
was one
That
that
was the
you looked at,
horse. That
right?
was one I talked about. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the sort of other Pletcher in here, right? And that is the Pletcher that I do prefer. But long layoff, Louis, getting Louis aboard. I like that.
Cool. All right. Now race 9,
There it
the
is.
Queen Elizabeth Cup. Yeah, mile and eighth on the turf here, and this was a race that I think I was talking to you about because I, the 4 really win this race.
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned because I feel like we've had a couple of these horses. Who was the horse up to the mark beat last weekend?
I think you're talking a
Was it Master of the
very
Seas?
different class of animal here.
Really? You think this horse is that
I
much
think
better?
Maj is arguably one of the best. She's top 3 turf milers in the world. She's one of the best turf. She's definitely the best turf filly miler in the world. She's won 3 in a row. She won 1,000 guineas. Like she's done all of the things. She's won in Dubai. She's won at Newmarket. Oyson's coming over for her. She absolutely towers over this field. She should win this, with absolutely no issues. She's a legitimate world-class G1 horse. She's ship her anywhere, put her in a 3-year-old stakes, and she's going to destroy things. She's a very, very, very legit horse. I think that the argument, the horse you're talking about was last weekend, where a very short priced Euro got beat at Keeneland, who I can't remember the horse's name. I think that was a horse that I know we kind of had some question marks about. I think Maj is just a different level. She's extremely talented, very, 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 very good horse.
Yeah, I have nothing to say. I mean, the only other horse that I really liked in this spot was a horse that actually just came from overseas, but does have one run here, and one Saratoga Oaks Invitational, which is Elusive Princess. And just, I mean, won very impressively. Won by 3 1/4 length. But I think the one concern you kind of have is the one thing that's kind of that's interesting is, sorry, I'm gonna lose my train of thought. Is this horse? I think just maybe just like the cut in the ground, right?
Yeah.
Ran on soft ground.
Yep.
If you look overseas, it just keeps on running on soft ground. It's going to be firmer. Keeneland. I was talking with Andrew about this. Keeneland turf is um, a little bit different, but it's just not going to be soft like it is like it is in France.
Yeah.
So I think that this is going to be maybe this is going to be the time that the horse maybe has to deal with a little bit more firmer ground, and
Yeah, and I
we'll
think
see.
there's also there's also the case to be made with her if you're comparing her to Maj. She's a horse that her Diana, her Prix de Diana was fine. She was fifth by 5.5. But if you really look at the caliber of horses, she got beat by Crown Princess, who's again who's a very 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 talented filly. But it's sort of she shows up when she should. She won a bunch of allowance races in a row, but she's sort of been I don't want to say a no-show, but she hasn't been quite as good versus running versus the tougher company. Maj, you don't have to make an excuse for. Maj just shows up. So, again, obviously, big field, always trip dependent. But if this is if a race without trouble and cleanly run, Maj should kind of run a hole in the wind.
Yeah, the only other horse that I looked at all in this spot was the 12 Papilio, and this is probably more just an underneath type play, and really, and Mark, you and I talked about this.
Mhm.
This is just one. This is a horse that if she ever puts it together, I think is going to be
Yeah.
is just going to run just a humongous race. Has just been green, has been wide, has just not really put it together. Even that Appalachian, if I remember correctly, the horse was super green, yeah,
Yep.
winning that
Super green.
race.
Yep.
So if Mark Cassie's ever able to figure it out, and JJ is able to keep this horse straight, this might be a monster. I don't know if 10-1's the price against just an absolute bulldozer like Maj, but this is definitely one that I think would be definitely usable underneath in an exacta or a trifecta, and maybe just a slightly, if Maj isn't in this race, right, and Papilio goes off at 8-1 or something, like I'm all over it. But yeah, with that just buzzsaw in this race, I think it's gonna be tough to kind of go anywhere else.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, if I was playing this pick 5 or if I'm playing this turf pick 3, Maj is probably a single in here for me. She's definitely a lone A on tickets, but the thing that you run into with a horse like her is she's going to be bet like a sure thing. And so, just from a game theory standpoint, there is a lot of value in getting around her. And so, Josh has already mentioned the 2, probably your second most likely winner. A couple other horses we haven't talked about that I did like the one horse Mission of Joy. If you actually look at her races, she fits on paper. She's got a couple of races that have been really good, and I think you're getting Johnny V up. Johnny V has been absolutely phenomenal at Keeneland so far this meet. He's winning. He's 5 for 16. He's winning at 31% on the Keeneland meet. She's got a win going this trip. It's Graham Motion, and Graham Motion's barn the last probably 4 or 5 months since the whole Saratoga meet as well has been very much on fire. And I think she's the type, pedigree's there, second off the layoff. This is probably a target race for her. She hasn't really ever been disgraced. Her regret was a very, very nice race at Churchill. And 20-1 is just not the price that Mission of Joy should be. So if you get, I think there's a huge amount of value in her. The other horse that I was a little bit interested in here is where is she? Where is she? There we go. The number 6, Lindy for Brendan Walsh. She actually ran in the French 1,000 Guineas, ran a really nice race, and she actually got beat 3 in a row by I think it's Blue Rose Centurion, who's actually a very, very,
No, it's just
very
Blue Rose Sun.
is it? It's just Blue Rose Sen. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought there was more to it. Blue Rose Sen, who is actually a very very talented filly, who's been lighting things on fire, and I think especially these mile and 1/8 horses, I think honestly, the French horses are a little bit better than the English horses. I think the English horses are a little better on the stayer distances. So, Lindy over here last out got a nice win at Kentucky Downs, and now Brendan's really pointing her. I think he's figured out what he has, and he's pointing her towards towards a much tougher race. But she's shown she belongs. She's run some nice races in legitimate. I can't pronounce the Longchamp race, the Poulichet, and her Diana was fine. She had a bit of traffic trouble that day, as if I remember. So she's an interesting horse in here at and may get a little lost on the board and probably provide some value. So
Yeah, Blue Rosen won the Prix Labra.
Yeah, she won a Prix de Opera on a laugher this year. Yeah,
and she decided not to come.
Yeah, they're not going to come
this year.
Yeah.
And last year I think was going to come, and then I think stepped on a rock and had a soft spot on a hoof.
So she was going to come over as a 2-year-old then last year. Okay. Yeah.
So,
yeah. I was going to say, if she did come over, that's the thing I love to bet the Opera winners back at the Breeders' Cup, because they occasionally get ignored on the board.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's close this out with race 10. Going to mile and 16th here on the dirt. All the Caleb-ish bones in my being want to try and beat First Mission. Every single bone in my body wants to beat First Mission. That was such a good race at Lexington, and he didn't get into the Derby off that, and they decided to take a break. But I mean, he beat Arabian Lion in that race, and Arabian Lion came back to win, and is looking like a pretty good one-turn horse. First Mission, obviously, that mile and 16th was 2 turns, and it's coming right back to that same trip. Is even money on the morning line. You're probably not going to even get that. I tried to look at some other alternatives, and really the only other horse that I was a little interested in was a shipper coming in from Indiana Grand, which is the 3 Gunno, for Walt Rodriguez and Paulo Lobo. Oh, baby, we got the 3 cherries once again, coming in here from Indiana Grand, where he went wire to wire and won by 9 1/4 length. Just an absolute laugher. I think that kind of looking at this, I think Walt probably realizes he's only got one way to go with this horse, and he's going to have to go. So kind of looking through the rest of the field, I mean, the 8 does have some speed, has been right on the lead, if not on the lead. And it was another one I was a little interested in. Once again, another 3 cherry horse, Diodoro horse. Was this the one that you liked here, Mark?
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's not I like the other deal.
The other deal. And speaking of Command Performance,
there he is.
He's in this race as well, but no, please, no, don't. I mean, I have a hard time getting around this one. I think the 3 might pose as maybe a little bit of a viable alternative. I'm not really sure, but where did you kind of land?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think First Mission is really, really tough in here. His Lexington was really nice. We know what Arabian Lions become. It's Sayers up for Cox, and yeah, he's a hard horse not to like. And this is, this probably is the right spot for him. 2 other horses I thought were a little interesting. One of them is a horse that used to like to win, but hasn't had one of those in a while, and that's the 2-horse Keystone Field. Will be forwardly placed in this field, and if they happen to get a little saucy on the front end, might be the one that can kind of pick them off late. He is a horse in here that does also have a very nice race over the Keeneland Main, which is something that not a lot in here do. So he's an interesting player in here. And then the other horse that Josh alluded to is the 13 Airtime. Airtime to me is very much a similar situation to somebody like First Mission, horse that they thought very well of, and then went to the bench for quite a while. Haven't seen him since April. Dio's really good off the long layoff, and Torres, who was the winner of the 2 back go on this trip at Oaklawn, ends up back on the horse. I think we've come to look at some of those Oaklawn races as being better than they appeared on paper as well as the year went on. I know I did very well at Saratoga, finding Oaklawn Park horses that I could get a little price on that were kind of underlays on the board. So I don't hate the 13 airtime in here. Another lightly raced one that may have some more headroom and is perfect at the distance. So those are the two I would try to beat him with. But I think First Mission is kind of that lone A type in here. And depending on how big your tickets are, is another potential single in the sequence if you need a second single.
Yep. Charles saying, "Oh boy, the return of Curly Jack, ass of a horse." Yeah, I mean Curly Jack, creative minister.
There's some names in here.
Command performance. Yeah, I think First Mission's actually legit. So,
well,
yeah,
the only
we'll see.
the only thing is, and I mean, obviously, we know Brad Cox spots him really well. You got a horse that won the Lexington last time out. Why is he here?
I don't know, mate. I mean, something must have gone wrong.
Well, I don't even mean it in that sense. I mean it in the sense of why not put him in a stakes? Why not find a black type you could run him at? Okay, maybe you don't want to put him in a graded stakes, but he was, I mean, if that figure in the Lexington is legit, he's pretty stout in here. All three of his races are all really stout. I find it a little interesting that he's putting him in, long layoff and then puts him in this spot versus finding a little tougher for him. Maybe just need a prep.
They tried to run him in the Preakness, and then he had an issue, and they scratched
Yeah.
him out of it. So.
Yeah, but I mean, that the Preakness was a long ass time ago, and he hasn't run anything since. They said they were going to slow down and give him a break. Cool. You would assume right now they would be trying. If you have a horse that's that talented, why not try to get a prep race into them and then point towards a Breeders' Cup race? This is not a pointer for a Breeders' Cup race. I don't imagine that's the type of horse you want to, do a winter campaign with. He seems like he's probably too talented to that. You'd want to turn him out in the winter. So, what's your fall plans with him? Again, why is he here? It's a little bit.
I mean,
For me, it's a little head
Brad.
scratch.
It's Brad. You know what his fall plans could be? Could be the Clark.
Could be the Clark. Yeah, could be the Clark. Got one turn, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Maybe this is a prep for the Clark. That would make sense.
Yeah. I know. I was talking with Caitlin, like I said earlier, and she said that she thinks the Clark is going to be very, very, very well drawn because this year is a 2-turn mile.
Yep.
For the dirt mile, so she thinks that there's going to be some horses that maybe would have ran in the dirt mile that might opt to go to the Clark instead. So
that's interesting. Yeah, I think there's a lot of horses. We've had this conversation. I mean, I think we know who wins the dirt mile, like unless something crazy happens. So if you have a miler and you don't want to go face the monster, do you duck and you go to some other race, and that's one of the likely outs.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that's going to do it for us. Obviously, like I said, we have a ton of content out this week. If you're a Laurel player, want to hear a little bit about the Laurel card, we got a video up on that with John Piasek from the Maryland Thoroughbred group there. Obviously, I just got that physical handicapping video up with Caitlin. Drinking champagne as usual. We talk about the late pick 5 tomorrow at Keeneland, which is absolutely loaded. There are just tons and tons of horses in that race, in those races, and oversubscribed races. I think it was like 11, 16, 16, 16, and 14 or something nuts.
Nice.
So Matthew saying Luna Bell to win the MD Distaff. So he's all good. But yeah,
I was like, I'd say if you're playing Aqueduct pick 6 carry from today into tomorrow, so I will be taking a look at that. And I am being a massive slacker, so maybe I'll see if I can get something done and maybe get a pick 6 play or a turf pick 3 for Friday or something up on the website. So we'll try to get a little written content that we're trying to be a little better about. We get a little lazy, get a little slacky, slackery, whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, that's going to do it for us here. Obviously, check us out at ontherwronglead.com, at wrong_lead on X or Twitter. Obviously, our YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit all the buttons. And yeah, we'll catch you guys later.